Section 3.1, Day 2, Graphing Linear Equations. Essential question. How do you identify the x and y intercepts of a linear equation? All right, so in this lesson, we are going to talk about two things. They are the x-intercept and the y-intercept. These can be found in different places depending on whether you are looking at a table, a graph, or an equation. So I am going to turn this into a little chart, and we're going to have table, graph, and equation. Then we'll do examples of all three of those things in this lesson. So if you have a table, your x-intercept is when y equals 0. You're in a table, your y-intercept is when x equals 0. In a graph, your x-intercept is where the line crosses the x-axis, and your y-intercept in a graph is where the line crosses or intersects the y-axis. In equation, your x-intercept, you are going to plug 0 in for y and solve for x. And for the y-intercept, you are going to plug 0, 0 in for x and solve for y. So I will refer back to all of those things as we are doing this lesson with the tables, graphs, and equations. All right, we are going to start with a graph. So it says identify the x and y intercepts using the labels. What do the intercepts mean? So important thing here, before we even start finding the intercepts, is to look at what is happening in our graph. So you will notice some labels on there, and the labels are super important in understanding what the graph is talking about. So this is orthodontic payments, so paying to have your braces. Looks like this person is making $85 payments, and then over here is the remaining balance. So I'm not sure, how often they are making those payments, but it tells you, for example, when they've made 0 $85 payments, they owe $5,000. After 10 payments of $85, they owe around $4,000. After 20 payments, you're somewhere in between $3,000 and $4,000. After 30 $85 payments, they're down to only owing $2,500. You'll notice as it gets all the way down, after they've made 60 $85 payments, they no longer have a balance on their account. All right, so let's talk about the x and y intercepts. So let's write down the x-intercept first. So the x-intercept, if I go back to my vocab, from a graph is where the line crosses the x-axis. So if you don't know your axis labels, the one that goes horizontal is always x, and the one that goes vertical is always y. So we want to look at where does our line intersect the x-axis. That is right there. That ordered pair is 60, 0, But your y-intercept isn't that ordered pair, it's just the x value. So you want just 60 to be your x-intercept. You don't need 60, 0. The line crosses the x-axis at the number 60. Now, the meaning of that is that after 60 $85 payments, the balance is 0. So after they've made 60 $85 payments, they have paid for the braces, they don't owe anything else. When you are writing the meaning, that ordered pair can be very helpful. You're wanting to talk about both of those numbers. So after the 60 $85 payments, the balance is 0. Notice that the words that I used came from those axis labels. So the $85 payments is your x-axis label. Your balance is your y-axis label. So those labels are what should help you describe that ordered pair and that intercept. All right, let's try the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is where your line intersects with the y-axis, and that is right here. That ordered pair is 0, 5,000. Remember, you don't want to say the ordered pair is your intercept, you want just the 5,000. That is where your line intersects the y-axis. All right, so the meaning of this, remember we're going to want to talk about the 0 and the 5,000, and we're going to talk about it in terms of our labels. So the 0 is our x, the 5,000 is our y. So 0 would be the number of $85 payments. So we should say if 0, $85 payments have been made, they owe $5,000. So that is your balance. So let's look at our numbers here. So this 0 got talked about here. No $85 payments have been made. This 5,000 gets talked about here. That's your balance. So, and then again, those labels, the $85 payments is our X label, and then they owe would be the same thing as your remaining balance. All right, let's look at another situation similar to that one. Let's start by looking at what these labels are. So we are talking about draining a swimming pool. To start, we have the labels of time in hours and volume in gallons. So if you look at it, it looks like they are draining the pool until there is no water left. So that's why it's going down from left to right. They start with a full pool of 10,000 gallons. They go down to having no water left in the pool after 14 hours. Let's write down our x-intercept. Our line crosses the x-axis right here. That is at the number 14. If you want to use that ordered pair to help you with the meaning, that ordered pair is 14 and 0. Another way to write your sentence, you guys, is, well, 14 is your time in hours. The 0 is your volume in gallons. So, 14 14 is our time in hours. So after 14 hours, the pool has 0 gallons of water. You could also say after 14 hours, the pool is empty. Either of those would work. All right, our y-intercept. Is right here. Our line intersects the y-axis at 10,000. That ordered pair right there is 10,000, 0. So again, that 10,000, oh, excuse me, that's the other way around. 0, 10,000, sorry about that, you guys. So, our 0 is our hours. 10,000 is our gallons. So, really you could say after 0 hours, the pool has 10,000 gallons. We can also say the pool started with 10,000 gallons before it was drained. There's no one exact right answer for an explanation here. So your answers can vary as long as they make sense. All right, let's go to our intercepts with a table. So this first one talks about our time in hours and our distance in miles. If we go back to our vocab here, for a table, your x-intercept is when y equals 0, which if you look at this, our x-intercept, y was 0. Our x-intercept is always when y is 0. Look here, the next one, our x-intercept was when y was 0. So I am going to look for where y is 0, and then that number is my x-intercept. So my x-intercept is 4. So that ordered pair is 4, 0, just like it says in the table. 4 is hours, 0 is the miles. So this is talking about if I start after 0 hours, I have 248 miles I need to drive. After 4 hours of driving, I have 0 miles left. So after 4 hours of driving, I'm going to say I have arrived. I don't know where I'm going. Somewhere 4 hours away, I guess. I have arrived. Or you could say after 4 hours of driving, I have 0 hours left. All right. So our y-intercept then is, if I go back to my vocab here, my y-intercept for a table is when x equals 0. So if you look at the first example, our y-intercept is when x is 0. Our y-intercept is when x is 0. So if x is 0, this is my y-intercept, 248. One thing that can also help you, the x-intercept will be under the x column. The y-intercept will be under the y column. All right, the ordered pair for my y-intercept is 0, 248. So let's talk about 0 hours, 248 miles. So maybe before I leave, maybe or even not even before I leave, let's just say I have to travel 248 miles. They haven't left, they are going to leave. When they leave, they have a drive of 248 miles. All right, you guys are really gonna like this last table because you'll look and see our labels are just X and Y. So we do not have to describe the meaning if the x-intercept and y-intercept have no labels that belong to them. So let's just practice x-intercept. So x-intercept is when y is 0. Remember, it will fall under our x column. So that x value is -8. Our y-intercept is when x is 0. It will fall under that y column, which is 6. So on your homework, you'll have some describing the meaning and some where you just have to say the intercepts. All right, our third kind is an equation. So it says find the x and y intercepts from the equation. So let's go back to our first slide where it said equation. For the x-intercept, we have to plug 0 in for y and solve for x. So similar trend here. You'll notice with the vocab, when the x-intercept is always when y is 0. Plug 0 in for y. All right. So let's plug 0 in for y. So this would be to find the x-intercept. We are plugging 0 in for y. So 2x plus 5 times 0 equals 10. So just think about it. If you're trying to find the x-intercept, you have to solve for x, which is exactly what we will do. All right, bring down the 2x. 5 times 0 is 0. I'm going to write that in this first one. I won't in the future. Obviously, we don't need the plus 0. So just write 2x. And then it's just a two-step or one-step equation. Divide by 2. And x equals 5. All right, to find the y-intercept, we are going to plug 0 in for x because we want to solve for y. So you need to have a y in your equation. If I am solving for the y-intercept, I need to have a y in my equation. So 2 times 0 is 0, plus 5y equals 10. Really don't need that 0. It's just 5y equals 10. Y is 2. All right, so that means my x-intercept is 5. My y-intercept is 2. So let's go ahead and graph that. Take a coordinate grid. We have a 5 and a 2, so let's go 5 each direction. So x equals 5. This is your x-axis. Go to 5 and put a dot. Y equals 2. Go to your y-axis and put a dot on 2. You are connecting those two ordered pairs with a line. All right, let's try one more of those. I would say the most difficult thing in this lesson is finding the intercepts from that equation. So that part will be tricky. All right, let's do it again. So 3x minus y equals 6. We are going to find our x-intercept first. That means we are solving for x. So leave it as 3x, and then we are replacing y with 0. y-intercept, so I need to solve for x. Obviously, 3x minus 0 is just 3x. You don't even need the 0 there. Divide by 3, divide by 3, so my x-intercept is 2. My y-intercept, I am solving for y. So plug 0 in for x. All right, 3 times 0 is 0. Biggest mistake people make on this problem is they write y, but it's not y. It's a negative y, and that's a big deal. We do not want to solve for a negative variable. We know that negative y is the same as negative 1y. Divide both sides by negative 1, and you get a y-intercept of negative 6. You have to have the correct sign there. Otherwise, your answer won't end up right. Again, make sure your x-intercept, when you're done, you should have x equals. Your y-intercept, when you're done, you should have y equals. All right. 2 and negative 6. So let's go 6 in each direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's graph those points. So on the x-axis, I'm going to put a dot on 2. On the y-axis, I'm going to put a dot on negative 6. And I am going to, oops, not a good start to my line. Much steeper than that. Connect those 2 points. Make sure you connect your 2 points with a line. Our whole point is that we want to find the x and y intercepts from the equation, and then we are needing to graph it. So you need to have the intercepts and the graph. This question is worth quite a bit on your Chapter 3 quiz and test, because there's a lot of work that goes into doing this problem. Summary. All right, so our essential question was, how do you identify the x and y intercepts from a linear equation? So we're going to go with just the equation part of this to find the intercepts for an equation. Plug in 0 for x and solve for y, and plug in 0 for y and solve